unpacking today's headlines. This is Souls and Liberty in Depth.
Hello everyone, and welcome to In Depth, a production of Souls and Liberty brought to you in partnership with MyPillow.com. We are back, baby. Donald Trump has staged the most spectacular comeback in U.S. political history. But what's next?
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all, and corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption, and there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every Inspector General's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. Doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
More on Trump's victory and what it will mean for America in a moment, but first,
the best thing that we as individuals can be doing right now is utilizing the breathing space we've just gotten, utilizing the beachhead we've just claimed, and starting to build.
Donald Trump recaptured the White House Tuesday in the most seismic shift in U.S. political history. Here to talk about what comes next is Souls and Liberty contributor Arthur Clareau. I'm your host, Stephen Wynn, coming to you from Kansas City. Arthur, America delivered a mandate for change, for radical change on Tuesday. And now that was the easy part. Now comes the more difficult work, the far more difficult work of actually turning this listing ship around. Of course, Trump is already working with his transition team to assemble his next cabinet. What can we expect in terms of personnel, perhaps, and more broadly, in terms of his plans to reform the administrative state?
The people delivered not just a Trump presidency, but a Trump, if I'm not mistaken, Senate, and we're still waiting, as far as I'm aware, on the House, but it looks very good. So there's a good chance that he has the ability to actually push through everything that he's going to be working on with the support of the Republican Party, the new Republican Party. Um, and who he's picking for this administration, he's wasting no time. And he didn't in 2016 either. I remember this. That day one, he was right at it. Talk about work ethic. But some of the people he's picking, it's just the dream team that I think so many Americans voted for. You have, for example, there's no official statement yet on Robert Kennedy, but Robert Kennedy and his promises to clean up the food and the agricultural environment in general, to go after vaccine manufacturers and big pharma, who have up until now been pretty much how would I say this? They bear very little responsibility for their own actions, which is very interesting. Some of the others that have been mentioned, though, that are interesting are, for example, Thomas Massey. There's rumors floating around about him taking over the Department of Agriculture. Massey is a very libertarian Republican and has been staunchly libertarian for a very long time. Very small government, and some of the people that have been mentioned on that team are also well known for their kind of innovative farming techniques and their focus on clean, healthy food, similar to Robert Kennedy. So that's wonderful. Another one that's being floated for Department of Homeland Security is Tom Homan, and he is the one who gave the fiery speech on during the RNC, telling the cartels that Trump is going to wipe them off the map, and telling illegals in the United States that it's time to pack your bags. The party's over. And I think these are the kinds of things that Americans were looking forward to. Now, there's a host of other really important appointments to be made. It's not clear yet exactly who's going to go where. I think we're all hoping for is that Trump has kind of learned the lessons of 2016, yes, and we won't be getting swamp creatures placed in important positions this time around.
Yeah, that's essential. That's essential. I think he has to go with his gut, which I think has far more often than not proven correct. He's talked about many times the mistakes he made in his first term were largely as a result of listening to DC insiders that he thought he could trust. Well, many of those folks that he appointed at the behest of those surrounding him, they came back and betrayed him in the end. So yeah, I think if he follows his gut, we'll be in good shape there. Already, he's making history. He named last night Susie Wiles, his campaign manager, named her his chief of staff, and she's actually the first female chief of staff, White House chief of staff in U.S. history. So for those on the left who are decrying Trump, saying he hates women and doesn't want to advance them, he doesn't want strong women in power, there's your answer. All right, when we come back, we're going to explore some key issues that Trump is going to start tackling upon his return to the White House in January. Stay tuned.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Arthur, there's so much to do moving forward, so much that's needed in order to begin resurrecting the United States. What are some of the biggest problems, economic, security, what have you, that Trump is going to start tackling when he returns to Washington?
Well, Trump's inheriting a mess. There's no two ways about that. And it's not just a mess in the United States, it's a mess in the entire world. I mean, when Biden said America's back in 2020, boy, I think a lot of people are looking back and saying, I wish it wasn't. At least not that way. Now I think we have an actual America's back, and I think that's a wonderful thing. One of the big changes that Trump has talked about making is cleaning up the administrative state. This is part of a little bit of what Elon Musk was talking about. There's some rumors there about Elon Musk taking or even creating a new agency called Doge, specifically focused on cleaning up the government and the efficiency in government. But Trump himself has said, and I'm quoting here, on day one, we will begin to find and remove the radicals, zealots, and Marxists who've infiltrated the federal government. And I think that's a really important point and something we really need to keep an eye on to make sure that that actually happens. I'm sure he will do this, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult. Thankfully, he has a mandate now to really go after this. But I mean, this is an entrenched power, so he's going to have a fight all the way through. There are a few other things he's going to go after. I mean, you've got the economic policies coming in. There's going to be some interesting things to watch there as far as how does he tackle the tax/tariffs/funding the federal government while also kind of reducing the waste. I know he's mentioned several times about cutting taxes in multiple ways. He even floated the idea of getting rid of the income tax entirely. While I doubt that's happening, as as much as we wish it was, there are definitely going to be some significant changes. There's a lot of consternation about tariffs. I think a lot of it is misplaced, and this is coming from a sort of libertarian perspective, and libertarians abhor all taxes and tariffs. There's a reason. There are times where they are a great tool to use. And so if applied properly, they can be very, very helpful, both for bringing jobs and manufacturing and all of that back to the United States, and then also for revenue from government. The problem with tariffs is that when they successfully bring the jobs back and have people buying American again, they basically self-destruct because you're no longer making money on the imports. So it's going to be tricky. But he's got great minds around him. I'm sure that he's going to figure something out that really does kickstart the economy once again. And he's depending on that. A big part of that too is going to be actually coming through with deportations. As harsh as that might sound, there is a real benefit to the American people to having home prices come down, having jobs open up, having demand for labor again, which will also help to raise wages, which have been stagnant for a very long time. So you're gonna see a pretty big economic boost just there. So there's a lot to look forward to on this.
Yeah, agreed. And let's remember that more than 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed the southern border in just the past 4 years under Biden-Harris. And I think if we've got the Senate and it looks very good for us capturing the House. I will be very interested to see how soon the border wall construction resumes after he takes power in January. I think and many Americans are looking forward to that, and we're actually demanding that because that is essential to national security. Another facet I think that's essential to national security is really reforming our military. Over the past 4 years, it has gone completely woke. The leadership, the administrators have been far more focused on promoting correct thinking in terms of personal pronouns than actually military readiness, getting us prepared to stand, to defend ourselves, to basically ready the country against any would-be attack from our adversaries who have been very much emboldened over the past 4 years. So that's good. There's been a purge, or there's going to during Trump's initial term. For example, he refused to allow transgenders to serve in the military. It'll be interesting, I think, to see what he does on that front, not just in the military, but in broader U.S. society as a whole.
Absolutely. I mean, there are several really, really key changes that are going to need to be made, not just in the military, like you said, in society broadly. And he's going after that. I think he recognizes it, and he's explicitly stated that he's going to be going after that. One aspect of this is, well, I mean, related to the transgender issue, he has specifically said he's going to go after the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the medical industrial complex. He's going to make changes in the Department of Education, or what remains of it, or what the new version of that looks like, related to this, to the point where teachers are not going to be allowed to be encouraging small children to go through these transitions. Medical staff who have been pushing just the range of really harmful, sometimes irreversible procedures on small children, they will finally pay the price for it. They'll reap some of the consequences. They'll be stopped and be punished if they actually go through with it. There's a good friend of mine, Jeff Younger, who's been fighting this battle for years now, in Texas, and then now in California, trying to protect his son from this predatory industry. And that's really what it is. It's just a money-making endeavor that preys on the most vulnerable people in society. So it would be, it will be a miracle when that gets changed, and when they are no longer able to push these things through. And Trump is adamant, or was adamant, in the years up to, or in the months up to the election, that this was going to change. This was going to be something very important to change right away.
Yes, and it is. It's essential. It just galls me that, over the past several years, we've basically started targeting those children who survive the womb, basically, which is only about 2/3 of pregnancies here in the U.S. Even those who escape alive, they're now targeted for castration, for mutilation, for biological poisoning, hormonal poisoning, basically, by those whom they should be able to trust in the schools and hospitals. When we come back, the work of delivering America from the grasp of communist Democrats cannot be confined to Washington. In fact, we all have a part to play. Stay with us.
The establishment has tried to assassinate President Trump twice, but we can't really be shocked that those who slaughter 1 million unborn babies each year would try to kill one more human being who stands in the way of their diabolical agenda. Trump, like every one of us, including all of us at Souls and Liberty, is a sinner. But like all of us, he is in the fight and fighting for all of us to get one more chance, maybe a last chance, to save the Republic. We must hang together, or as Benjamin Franklin said, we shall hang separately. And maybe far sooner than many imagine, because communists take over and always persecute Christians, and Catholics in particular. Let us help you fight these forces of evil. Become a monthly supporter today so we can continue giving you the information, the tools of our faith, and the support network you need to go out and save souls and save our nation. Join our merry band of happy warriors and click below to get into the fight. We need you, we need each other. Join the resistance. Become a monthly donor today.
Arthur, it's going to take an almost unimaginable amount of work and of prayer to revive the Republic in moving forward. And this is something that we can't just leave to DC. First of all, I don't trust them to get the job done. Even conservatives, we've seen time and again, we get Republicans elected to power and then they completely disappoint us. So there's got to be activity at all levels of American society. So what do we, the people, at the grassroots level, what do we need to do moving forward to ensure that America is indeed made great again?
There's a feeling right now. There's a couple of feelings. One is relief, right? We feel like, wow, okay, the burden's been lifted. It's done. We won. It feels like, the war's over. It's okay. We can go home now and sit on our porch and have a nice, a nice drink. And that's okay. That's a good feeling. It's been a long time coming. We've been working very hard, and so many people across the entire West have been working very hard for this. So it's understandable. There's also a sense that kind of the world is healing 48 hours in. It's kind of strange to say, but I mean, within 48 hours, you've had Putin, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas, just so many of these conflict zones calling for peace, hoping Trump is going to come through on that, and that's 48 hours. So, and he's not even in power yet. So there's it's easy to feel like, okay, it's done. We're good. We can hand that over. We can forget about it and let him take care of it all. And hopefully there will be a lot that is taken care of in that way. Things that we can't personally do. We're not president. We're not congressmen. We're not senators. But we have to remember, look, there's 4 years. It's actually 2 years until the left gets another chance to put in a new House and Senate, and new governors, and all this sort of stuff. Places like California, places like New York, are adamantly Massachusetts actually adamantly stepping forward and saying they're not going to go along. They're gonna hold tight to this leftist way of doing things that we've had for so long. So the fight is far from over.
Yeah.
And not only that, but even if there's a win in 2 years, 2 years after that, we're at it again. That's just on the political side. So this is going to take time. It's going to take time, and I think that the best thing that we as individuals can be doing right now is utilizing the breathing space we've just gotten, utilizing the beachhead we've just claimed, and starting to build. We need foundations. We need structures. We need to build entire systems, rebuild, reimagine, reinvigorate, and create such a stronghold in the West that it's going to take them another 70 to 100 years to undo that one if they try again. But that's not going to happen in 4 years. It's just not. And it's not going to happen just with Trump or just with anyone we elect. That's something we have to do on the ground together. And there's many ways we can do that, but we just have to be thinking in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think you're spot on there. We don't even necessarily have 4 years. We have two, because typically the opposing power, the opposing party, they win quite a few votes. Seats change hands, during the midterms, and because our margin in the House, Senate as well, but especially the House will ultimately be pretty thin. We still have a mandate, but we can't lose a lot of votes in 2026, and so we've got to work to prevent that, of course, but we've got to do as much as we can in the next 2 years to really get the ball rolling and keep it rolling, come what may in 26. And I think every American has to be and remain engaged. Everyone's been riveted to the news over the past year, past 6 months especially. I mean, look at all that's happened. It's been exhausting at times, but it's also been exhilarating. Well, we can't let that level of engagement slip. Every single one of us has to stay engaged, keep watching the news on social media, X especially. I would say ignore CNN, MSNBC, even Fox. I would counsel against in many cases. But stay tuned to conservatives on social media, including Souls on Liberty, because that's where you're going to find the news, and that's where you can get your own message out. I think that needs to be a key priority for every single American. Also, we need to use this as a stepping stone, as a platform to launch new efforts to be engaged at the local level. Investigate who's running for school board, who's running for dog catcher even. We've got to make sure that we don't just rest on our laurels. We've got to stay engaged at the local level, because just as this victory is the product of, yes, a fantastic campaign team, incredible strategy. That no matter how good the strategy was, it would not have captured the White House if people were not working. We didn't have boots on the ground, soldiers in the trenches, and so forth in every American community. And so we have to stay active. We have literally been given a once in a lifetime opportunity here. We've got to make sure that it doesn't slip. And I mean, when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Of course, we in Souls and Liberty are going to be continuing to do what we do here to get the word out, to communicate the truth, and to continue shining a spotlight on the intersection of faith and politics. But everyone has to play their part. And and if, for example, if you're an older person, an older viewer. My mother's 87 years old, so she can't go walking around the community. She can't serve as a poll watcher, can't go canvassing, things like that. But you know what she can do? She can pray, and she does pray. And her prayers were part of this foundation that got us to where we are today. And so, no matter how old, how young you are, you can pray. Make sure you're doing that, because without prayer, all of this will come to naught. Arthur, thank you so much for joining us today. Excellent analysis and discussion as always. And to our viewers, thank you once again for joining us here on In Depth. God bless you.